By dawn on the 19th of May 1944, the 5th and 8th Armies were up to 10 miles west of the Gustav Line and quickly approaching the Hitler Line, also known as the Senga Line. This ran from Terracina to west of Montecarlo via Fondi, Pontecorvo, Aquino, and Piedemonte. Some believed it was the most formidable defensive line in Italy. It comprised a continuous band of barbed wire. Behind were specially constructed strongpoints, including tanks buried in rocks and concreted machine gun posts. To the south, the Fifth Army was advancing along the south of the Liri Valley and navigating the Aurunci Mountains. And the plans were being finalized for 6th Corps to break out of the Anzio bridgehead, connect with American forces advancing from the east, and reach Highway 6 to cut off retreating German forces. On the 18th of May, reports had been received that armoured cars of the Deryshire Yeomanry, the reconnaissance formation of the 6th Armoured Division, were in Aquino, a Hitler Line strongpoint. That night, to exploit the opportunity, the 5th Battalion of the Royal East Kent Regiment, known as the Buffs, and the 8th Battalion of the Argyll Sutherland Highlanders, both of 36th Brigade and 78th Division, were sent to capture the airfield east of the town. The plan called for lorried infantry of 6th Armoured to then pass through to attack the Hitler Line proper. In fact, the Deryshire Yeomanry had been held up by galleys west of Aquino. Following an artillery barrage at 5 o'clock in the morning of the 19th of May, the two battalions attacked, supported by the Ontario Regiment of the 1st Canadian Armoured Brigade. Anti-tank guns hit every tank in the leading two squadrons. Machine guns decimated the infantry. The commanders of both battalions became casualties. They were withdrawn at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That night, the Canadian 1st Division commander, Major General Vokes, ordered 3 brigades to advance in the morning against objectives on the Aquino-Pontecorvo Road, behind the main German defences. At 6:30, the Royal Vendus and the Carleton Yorks attacked with the support of the Royal Tank Regiment. The Carleton Yorks halted 800 yards short of the Hitler Line, and the Royal Vendus went on alone. As they emerged into open fields, they were caught by machine gun fire. At 2 o'clock, the battalion was ordered to withdraw. A new attack was prepared, but this time the entire Canadian Corps would be involved. On the Monte Cassino Massif, 2 Polish corps had captured the Abbey of Monte Cassino on the 18th of May, but German strongpoints on points 505 and 575 held out until the 19th of May. On the 20th of May, a Polish battle group aided by fire support from the 8th Indian Division's 21st Brigade unsuccessfully assaulted Piedemonte San Germano, which was held by the 1st Parachuted Division. Further attacks on the next 2 days also failed. The 8th Army spent the next 3 days preparing to attack the Hitler Line, while the defenders reorganized and were reinforced. Heavy rain on the 19th to the 21st of May slowed 8th Army operations, though minor attacks tested German defences. On the 19th of May, 2 corps had reached the road from Itro to Campo de Meli. The French Expeditionary Corps was through the Ausonia defile and threatening the German line from the rear. At 1 o'clock in the morning of the 20th of May, 349 Infantry of America's 88th Division moved northwest from Itri in column up Highway 7 to strike retreating German forces and capture Fondi. 88th Division made rapid progress on the 20th to the 22nd of May, gaining positions on high points north and northwest of Fondi. On the 23rd of May, 350 Infantry reached Roccasecca dei Volsci. On the 20th of May, 85th Division had continued to clear hills south of Highway 7. The following day, the 1st Battalion of 338 Infantry embarked at Gaeta in Dux and landed unopposed at Spelonga. On the 22nd of May, 337 Infantry crossed the Fondi Plain to hills above Terracina. By 2:30 that morning, its advance units were within a mile of the town, and the division began to attack. The previous night, 339 Infantry had advanced along Highway 7 from Fondi. It halted on the 22nd at the edge of the mountains, and on the 23rd advanced to capture Sonino. During the night of the 23rd of May, the 15th Panzer Grenadier Regiment and 103 Reconnaissance Battalion evacuated Terracina. By the 25th of May, the 85th Division held Terracina and hills above the town as far as Sannino. 88th Division protected 2 Corps' right flank. On the 19th of May, the French Expeditionary Corps pushed into hills south of Saint-Olivat. Next morning, the 7th Algerian Infantry captured high points around Pico. By mid-afternoon, the 3rd Algerian Infantry had taken Montelucio and reached the Pico to Pontecorvo Road. To their left, the Guillaume Group, comprising the 4th Group of Tabors, the 1st Moroccan Infantry less 1 battalion, and a battalion of the 69th Algerian Artillery Regiment, drove north from Campo di Mele. At 6:40 on the 21st of May, the 1st Motorized Division occupied a high point west of Pontecorvo. Other elements of the division moved north past Montelucio to near San Giovanni in Carico by noon. On the left, the Guillaume Group advanced west and crossed the Hitchi to Pico Road with the support of armour travelling north along the road. At 11:30 on the 22nd of May, the French broke into Pico and took the town that evening. The Guillaume Group made contact with the 2 Corps at the road junction south of Linola to link up with the 5th Army front in this area for the first time. Before dusk, the heights north of Linola had been taken. The French were now behind the Hitler Line and made it indefensible. On the 24th of May, the French advanced north towards Ceprano and northwest between Castro dei Volsci and Amazzeno. Progress was limited. The Algerian division entered San Giovanni the next day. By the end of the 25th of May, the 4th Mountain Division was in the mountains between Amazzeno and Vallacorsa and east of the Vallacorsa Valley, while the Moroccan division had surrounded Pestena. On the 13th Corps front to the north, a probe attack by Canadian formations on the 22nd of May tested the Hitler Line west of Pontecorvo and found it was being held in strength. On the right, a diversionary attack by the 3rd Canadian Brigade reached the German wire, which was penetrated by platoons of the Carleton Yorks. The opposition was 2 battalions of 361 Grenadier Regiment facing Canada's 1st Division to the north. To the south, a battle group comprised remnants of 576 Grenadier Regiment and the 44th Replacement Battalion. 2 companies of 334 Engineer Battalion held Pontecorvo itself. And on the far right, the Aquino sector was held by the 4th Parachute Regiment and part of the 190 Regiment. No more than 800 infantry held the Hitler Line opposite the Canadians. The principal German strength was fixed fortifications and supporting artillery, particularly anti-tank weapons. Operation Chesterfield, the Canadian Corps assault on the Hitler Line, began at dawn on the 23rd of May, with a 10-minute bombardment followed by a counter-battery program against German gun positions. At 3 minutes to 6, a barrage 3,200 yards wide hit the attack zone. At 6, assaulting battalions of Canada's 2nd Infantry Brigade crossed the start line. The Princess Patricias, supported by the North Irish Horse, advanced on the right, where the ground fell away to Forme d'Aquino. All the tanks were hit, and the Patricias suffered heavy casualties. On the left, the C4th Highlanders, also supported by North Irish Horse, made more progress. 11 tanks broke through the main fortifications, and by midday were on their second objective near the lateral road to Highway 6, but were separated from the C4th Infantry. They were forced by shelling to withdraw, but only 4 made it back to where the infantry was. 41 of the tanks that supported 2nd Brigade were knocked out in the attack. The 2nd Brigade's problems led to the postponement of the second phase of the day's attack. It eventually got underway at 8:45 in the morning when the Edmontons, the 2nd Brigade's 3rd Battalion, supported by a squadron of the 51st Royal Tank Regiment, crossed the start line. The Edmontons advanced along the edge of the Forme d'Aquino waterway and caught up with the Patricias, who had been down. They pushed into tall grain fields, which concealed German wire. At Attempts to get supporting tanks to get up failed. Engineers attempting to lift deeply laid mines were virtually wiped out. By early afternoon, it was evident the attack had failed. The attack by 3rd Brigade, comprising the Royal Van Duze Regiment, the Carleton Yorks Regiment, and the West Nova Scotia Regiment, went more closely to plan. The Carletons with tanks penetrated the Hitler line and reached their first objective. The West Nova Scotias and the follow-up were forced to dig in before they could reach the target. The strong German resistance prompted a change in plan. Around midday, the 1st Canadian Division's reserve was released and attached to the Van Duze, which was ordered to the final objective. 2 squadrons of the 3 Rivers Regiment moved forward and joined the Van Duze. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the Van Duze advanced behind the West Novas. At 20 to 5 in the afternoon, the second phase attack swept forward rapidly, and the final objective was taken 20 minutes later. By darkness, the 3rd Brigade had broken through the Hitler line. But the attack, which had seen the heaviest fighting involving Canadian troops so far in the Italian campaign, had cost the brigade 165 casualties. The losses of the 2nd Brigade totaled 543 killed, wounded, and taken prisoner. Earlier, 48th Highlanders of Canada's 1st Brigade, supported by tanks of the 142nd Regiment, had struck out from the Canadian bridgehead to point 106 northeast of Pontecorvo. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment joined the attack, and the hill was taken 3 hours later. The Royal Canadian Regiment, the 3rd Battalion of 1st Brigade, entered the ruins of Pontecorvo on the morning of the 24th of May. The second phase of Operation Chesterfield began at 8 o'clock in the morning of the 24th of May, with the advance of the 5th Canadian Armoured Division, led by a battle group comprising the British Columbia Dragoons, accompanied by a company of the Irish Regiment of Canada from the division's 11th Brigade, which went forward in carriers. By midday, the Canadians had reached the Mancini Farm, 2 miles northwest of Aquino, after encountering German Panther tanks for the first time. A second battle group passed the Irish. A reconnaissance troop reached the Malta River a mile downstream from the railway crossing around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and occupied a house on its west bank. A squadron of Lord Strathcona Horse had reached the Benedictine Crossroads 500 yards short of the Melfa and about 3/4 of a mile southwest of Roccasecca Station. By 4:30, it had eliminated opposition east of the Melfa but lost 17 tanks in the process. The 1st Westminster Regiment crossed the Melfa and were joined by Strathcona tanks. That night, the Irish came forward from Mancini into the bridgehead west of the river and dug in. On the 25th of May, the Irish attacked the main German crossing across the Melfa, while the Westminsters broke out from the left of their bridgehead. Within an hour, the battalions were holding the road 1,000 yards west of the river. For his bravery in the fighting to defend the Melfa bridgehead, Westminster Major John Mahoney was awarded the Victoria Cross. A further crossing point over the Melfa to the left was secured on the morning of the 25th of May by a battle group comprising 5th Division and 1st Division tanks and 3rd Brigade infantry. By nightfall, the Canadians were in position from the Leary to the railway line to Rome. The next day, patrols found both Aquino and Piedimonte had been abandoned. 2 squadrons of the Calgary Regiment, leading the 78th Division along Highway 6, reached Roccasecca Station. The 8th Indian Division occupied Castriciello unopposed. The Hitler line had been destroyed.